everybody, it's Christina from Redefine Creative, and I am celebrating this Monday with another process video using my March for the Love of Homemade kits. And I have two photos that I want to include that I printed on a 4x6. So they are going to be a couple of smaller photos. And I'm thinking I'm going to use this black and white kind of sketchy grid paper as that background layer because it looks just like the paper in the sketch. And so that's kind of where I start. It is not at all where I end up, but it's where I start. And then I am thinking about adding in some of my pattern paper. So this pink one was actually not in my kit. It was something that I used on a different project, so it was just like a little piece of leftover. And I cut those boxes to 3x3 and decided that things were just getting like way too big. Like it was not working for me. So it's going to end up changing quite a bit. But I also wanted to play with this idea of, in the sketch, there's a big photo mat that has like the photos, those two pattern paper squares, and the circle on top of it. And so rather than having white cardstock or a color of cardstock like I typically would, I'm going to play around with the idea of using vellum as that matte layer behind my photos. And this isn't really something I've played with a whole lot before, but I thought it would be kind of fun for something a little bit different. For the circular element, I want to include a doily, and I want the doily to kind of be at the edge of the vellum. So I'm kind of playing with something a little bit different for me. So this is a newer look. And I'm deciding that that black and white kind of sketchy grid is just not giving me enough like pop of color. And so I'm kind of struggling with where the direction of the layout is going and where the embellishments are going to go. So I'm going to switch up, and I'm going to use this rainbow stripe instead. And this was also left over from another project I was working on. And I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use another little piece of that ombre kind of background paper that I used on one of my other projects to make an 8.5 by 11 layout. So I'm going to take my piece of vellum and I adhere that doily, and then I'm going to add some ink around the edges, and then I'm going to add that same ink around my layout and as well as around like all my pattern paper layers around the outside so that everything kind of is cohesive and flows together well. This one is the Catherine Pooler Aquatini, if you didn't see what color that one was, and it is one of my favorites. And I'm also kind of inking just the edge of that doily a little bit as well. And then I'm just going to start kind of relayering all these things together. And this is where the layout like finally starts to come together. So making that color change made a huge difference in how I was feeling about how this grid and how this layout were coming together. And I really, really love how it looks using this piece of vellum as a major photo mat. So that is something I would encourage you if you are getting some extra creating time here at home, or if you are playing in your craft room. Give it a shot grabbing vellum and making it a major like photo layer, because I really like that you can still see the pattern paper behind it. It's a totally different look, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's not something I have done a whole lot before. So I'm going to take my multicolored alphas here that I have in my kit that I've been wanting to use, and I'm going to spell out a big title that says Ice Cream Adventure, and I'm just kind of trying to vary the colors and patterns in those letters so nothing looks too repeated. Everything is kind of spaced out. And so we're going to get that going on top of this doily, and then we're going to move on to the embellishing part. So I have that foundation of my grid layout already built, and if you know me or if you've watched some of my other videos, this is that point where I start to move away from the sketch. So a lot of times when I'm using a sketch, I use that to create that like basic foundation of my layout, and then I go ahead and kind of let the embellishing go in a different direction. So I have these three little hot air balloons, which have nothing to do with ice cream, but they look super cute up in that top corner. And I am actually okay with them not having anything to do with ice cream because, you know, these photos are pretty self-explanatory. There's not a lot that I need to do or say. I'm going to add a few little hearts here as well as that little label in my kind of bottom embellishment cluster, and then I'm going to take that one little tag that has a heart on it and add it right on top of my photo. And then I'm going to use my three little hot air balloons as my cluster in this top corner. And I just think the colors are perfect, they fit perfectly in that space, and so it's working for me. Whether it has anything to do with my pictures or not, I think it kind of just works. Same thing with that little, like, I think it's a little like gray cat. It's just really cute, and it goes with kind of the feel of the page. This particular ice cream place is called Baked Bear, which is definitely not a cat, but you know, we're gonna make it work. I am gonna take my phrase stamp, and this is something that was part of what we included in the kit, and I'm gonna stamp it in 2 different places on the layout. So down here in the bottom, I'm gonna use the phrase "don't mind if I do," which seems appropriate because it's pictures of this huge ice cream sandwich. So if you are not familiar with Baked Bear, basically it is this ice cream place where you can go in and you pick your flavor of ice cream, and then you pick a cookie for the top and a cookie for the bottom. And so they do warm cookies on the top and the bottom, ice cream in the middle, and then you can have it rolled in toppings. So hers is rolled in like little mini chocolate chips. It is so yummy, you guys, so yummy. So it was something that was on our summer bucket list, and so we took the kids. And so as I am finishing up the details here, I'm going to add a few of these little like puffy epoxy heart stickers and put some foam adhesive behind some of my embellishments. And then I am going to add some pink like distress spray splatters across my 2 embellishment clusters. And that is basically going to do it for this layout. So I want to thank you for hanging out, watching what I am creating with my March for the Love of Homemade Kits. Make sure you check out all the other ladies who are playing along with homemade kits using our recipe this month as well. If you have not printed out your recipe yet, there is a link in the comment box below where you can find that recipe so you can print it. And I will be back to see you very soon as we are really amping up the content here on our channel. Bye, friends.